Hello everybody, welcome back to Commonwealth Flipper. I've been doing some work out here and I think today's the day. I finally am going to tackle something that I've been avoiding for a long time as far as talking about reselling in general. And I've been acting on some of the things I'm going to talk about today for over 2 years without really fully putting all the pieces together. And I think this is something that a lot of people won't like. Some people will. I'm going to put it at the end of the video. We're literally going to have a discussion after I pick some stuff that I think will inspire some people, will scare some people, will turn some people off, and will get some people really excited. And I'm excited about it. Let's go take a look. All right, y'all. So this is going to be slightly, well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to give you just a brief overview of kind of, not an outline, but just a little bit of context right here at the beginning. And then I'm literally going to pick every single item in order. And then we're going to have this discussion at the end, because I'm telling you, there's going to be some people that aren't going to want to hear this. And some people that are like, bring it on. And I'm going to try to tie in a bunch of things. I'm also going to talk about, just so you know, some of my marketplaces at the end. Because in reality, guys, I've been doing quite a bit. And some of you wonder why I'm doing some of the dumb things I'm doing. At least in your mind, they're dumb. And they may be dumb. And I have been doing for a while. And I'm going to tie them all together, and I'm going to kind of give an explanation of why I'm doing what I'm doing and why I have been doing what I've been doing, why some of the videos tones the last few weeks have been a little bit different. It's because of change. It's because of massive change that's taking place. Not just micro change in the reselling world, but macro change in the geopolitical world and the domestic economy, all kinds of things. You could see this stuff coming. You could see it a mile away, really. And I want to tie up a bunch of those things, and at least, whether you agree with me or not, a glimpse into my mind, because I'm a history guy after all, and I look at times of upheaval, of revolution, of change, whatever you want to call it. I'm not saying the world's falling, but I'm not going crazy here. But it's clear that there are so many change factors going on, whether it's AI, or in the political world, or in the international scope and realm, in the local economies of our nation in different places, and the inflation that occurred, and where we're at right now, and the instability, and all these things that are occurring right now. You could see all this stuff coming. We often think that it's politics that drives all this. In reality, it's all of this that drives the politics, to be perfectly honest with you. And I'm not going to get political today, don't get me wrong. I might mention a few different things here and there that have led me to believe some of the things I want to say at the end of this and tie some stuff in. This is a very different video, but some people just tune in for the picking. So that's what we're going to do right now, and then we'll hit all that stuff at the end. By the way, I call it picking when I'm picking orders, and I call it picking when I'm out at garage sales. This sold finally, and it took a lot of work, and I had it out there for, at one point, $100. It's John Lennon, Walls and Bridges 8-track. This one is quadraphonic, y'all. So whenever you see the quadraphonics, you want to pick them up. Let me give you a different one real quick, and I'll show you an example of the difference between the two, so you can spot them when you're out there, and you rarely spot them, by the way. There we go. We got the Eagles right here. You might already see the difference in the two. This is a quadraphonic right here, and this isn't, and you'll notice that little cutout right there and no cutout right here. So this is what you want to find. The value of these was super high a little while ago. They're still pretty high. You find quads, they sell. This one took a relist and a lowering of the price to finally get it going. $40. I took an offer on it as well. I think I had it listed at $50. I took an offer for $40 because it's been here forever. 40 plus shipping. I mean, just the 8-track itself should give you an idea. I mean, how much change this world is undergoing in such a short amount of time. I remember growing up as a kid, my mom still listened to 8-tracks, y'all. I remember the black and white TV and no remote control, and I was the remote control for my dad turning that dang TV. I asked Turner to get me a water bottle. I better go get it from him. Thank you, bud. Oh, you brought the dogs. That's all right. They could stay. I'm getting everybody dizzy right here. Let me put this 8-track back. And, you know, the one thing that is consistent in our world today is change. And imagine it for these little kids out here. They know nothing but change. Change is their consistency, you know. Their continuity is change, which is mind-blowing here. Milton Bradley Electronics. This is it's been forever, y'all. Haven't even listed this thing. finally listed it, and it has water damage on it. As you see, in the box isn't in great shape, but this is in good shape. And so these are pretty good. I can't remember what it sold for, but it had to be good because I've sold them before. Almost 60 bucks, $59.82 plus shipping. Went to the doctor today, and he told me no more Baja Blast. So my wife's got water bottles for me, and I'm supposed to drink a ton of it. Sold an in-box G.I. Joe. It's not new in box, however. I gotta get it out of here, though. Let me move a few things. Oh, pencil case. We'll put that there. And this one sold for just under 30, I think, 28 something. Thundering Jetpack from G.I. Joe. Almost 30 plus shipping. And let's face it, some of us resellers, especially if you resell like I do, you love the past. You're romantic about your childhood. You live in this idealized world, and you want to continue to do that. And so part of what I'm going to talk about is how do you continue? You make minor adjustments. You look into the future a little bit. In order to preserve what you absolutely love, you adapt and you make a few changes, and that's what I'm going to talk about after I turn around and go back over here. I just get so enthralled with, here we go. I've been taking the ones out of there and putting them there so I don't have to take forever to find them. This is a cool, y'all, Xbox 360. We talked about video games dying the other day and all that, and it kind of goes along with what we're talking about, but let me tell you, people will always look back at their childhood and want things and surround themselves with things that bring them joy and give them that romanticized, idealized kind of image of the past. Now, that's not me because I was much too old when Xbox 360 came out. This is the Dreamcast collection. This is good. Sold super quick. 50 bucks plus shipping. I smell that grilled cooking up there. There you go. See, it's grilled chicken. My wife, I get one bad number in a daggone doctor appointment. Just one. It ain't even that bad. She's going nuts on me. At any rate, here we go. This one, you might have seen me hem and haw over at a sale. It was $5. And I'm like, do I want to get it? Because that's a great deal on something like this. But do I want to ship it? Do I want to store it? Do I want to do all that? And I listed it. Almost delisted it. Took it to Play It Again Sports. And just made some quick money on it. But a guy sent me an offer on it. And I was like, that's a little low. But I asked him where he's from. He's from Virginia. I'm like, oh, absolutely, I'll take it because the shipping on this is going to be super cheap. And actually, if you communicate with your buyer, a lot of times you just say, hey, I'm going to slap a sticker on it. We're going to ship it like that. And most times they're okay with it. So you can also take those heavy-duty contractor bags and put it in something like that just to make sure it doesn't get scratched up. But that's what we're going to do with that. It sold for 70, so 5 into 70 plus shipping. And probably, waiting for his reply, we'll just slap the label right on it and ship it. I guess I can throw in a little bit more context to this before we get to it once I'm done picking this. And I alluded to this the other day. I think the single most important thing in all of reselling, it has been, but it really is now, is going to be sourcing. And sourcing for me means happiness because I just love to go to garage sales. And I'm going to talk about each method that a lot of us, just typical hobbyist type folks, use for sourcing and where I see that going in the future. And then some other alternative forms. Bigfoot 4x4. This is a corduroy hat. I want to say I picked this up quite a while ago. It took a while to sell. It might even have sold on discount, but it still went for good money. I think I might have paid $5 for this thing, which I hate paying that much for a hat, but daggone it, I'll do it. $5 into $27.97 plus shipping. Hat season for me has begun. Seems like I'm selling 3 or 4 a week minimum. Sold some shoes, which always makes me happy, even though these aren't technically shoes, they're golf cleats. And I've been saving a lot of my golf stuff for over on dibditsports.com, but you know, these are hard sellers in a small marketplace because you got to find the person with the right shoes and all that, you know, a little harder in golf clubs, but or right shoe size. These are women's, I think. I'm not sure. $33.20 for these plus shipping. Pick them up for $5. I'll take it. You know, with all the improvements in AI and all the power of AI that is coming at us and the applications of AI into all parts of our life, and it is coming whether we like it or not, it's also happening in reselling. And so some of the advantages that a good quote-unquote reseller and the little things I talk about like title structure and stuff like that are going to become less important because of those things. This is a single stitch Darrell Waltrip, and it sold for $17.46 plus shipping. However, you know, the old schoolers out there who are far better pickers than me picking stuff, you know, you guys have the most valuable asset, in my opinion, and that is knowledge. And a lot of people, I did for years. This is NASCAR country around here, y'all. I passed up NASCAR stuff for probably 10 years. The first 10 years of reselling. And then I was like, well, I can't do that. How did I get a cat in here? Anyway, this is faded like crazy. Got issues over it all over the place. Still sold for $17.50, single stitch plus shipping. That was actually Boots in here. I should have kept her in here because she's never in here. Her and Dobby never come in here. And Boots loves Turner, absolutely loves him. Likes Reagan, tolerates my wife, and doesn't want anything to do with me. I am not really a fan of Spice of Life Corningware. However, I think that's what this is. If I'm doing a buyout or a clean out or a basement or something, everything's all pretty much the same. No matter if I pick it up or not, the price is going to be the same. I'll pick it up. The little one, this one sold for $17.95. Plus shipping. Now, if you find the first alert, the little fire alarms that are also, what, carbon monoxide ones, new in the package, they'll sell. And that's what happened here, and it happened pretty quick as well. Plus, I pick some up sometimes, and we use them in the house. And they go for decent money, y'all. This one sold quickly for $24.95. Plus shipping. All right, my wife's calling me in for dinner here, so I'll be back as soon as you can snap your fingers. Almost forgot my water bottle. I knew she'd ask me about it. Next one I bought like 8 months ago, and it's just now starting to be time for people to start thinking about this again. And that is mosquitoes. And I bought 2 of them. I bought some other mosquito stuff too, and they sold pretty quick. These did not. I gotta make sure it's 1, not 2. No, it's a pack of 2, so I gotta go get both. I paid $1 a piece for them, and they sold for $27.92 plus shipping. Sold an item to a viewer. I think we just have the one today. So Julie, thank you for picking this up, and let me show it to you. It is a Lego City water cannon, and it does, you know, the box isn't in great shape or anything, but these tend to do okay. I want to say around 20 bucks. $19.95 plus shipping, and you also picked up these right here. So one viewer sale, but they bought 2 things. These only sold for $10 plus shipping. They're super cool, but it was one of those things where I was just trying to get to a $100 deal with somebody, and you know, you throw in a little bit here and a little bit there, and it makes the price a little bit more palatable in the end. And we're already in the profit on it. So, or excuse me, it was $50 for everything. We're already in the profit. You'll see it on an upcoming video. It's a private pick, sort of. Just a friend called me up and said, hey, we're cleaning out this house for my grandmother. You want to come by and buy some stuff? I said, absolutely. And I threw these in, and they sold for $9.95 plus shipping. No, I still haven't fixed my monitor up there. This one went to Julie, like I said. Enjoy your channel. Have been watching for over a year. I've been a part-time eBay reseller since we took personal checks for payment. And I hear you. I used to get cash, y'all. I've been doing it over 25 years now. Cash, money orders, cashier's checks, all that stuff. Even received cash in the mail a few times. I'm going to use these 2 tins to upcycle into home decor and sell on District. Wow. Hopefully, should I say it? I don't know if the transformation has taken place, but we have the last, I hope, Dibdit Marketplace. And I'm not going to announce the name because I don't know if it's changed or not yet, but we have done a hostile takeover of One Stop Shop and have reshaped it into the one missing piece, which is home decor and antiques and MCM and all that stuff, and we'll get into the details later, but I guess I'm letting the cat out of the bag. So if we haven't changed it yet, go over to One Stop Shop, check it out if that's stuff you are interested in. And I think it's a big marketplace, a big kind of a, I don't know if I call it a bolo type marketplace, but man, there are so many people they're decorating their own Airbnbs, their own homes, and you're using stuff exactly like that. The Legos are going to be enjoyed by my 5 grandsons. Wow, thank you. Love to see your kids involved in the videos. Give the puppies a rub and the kitty a treat. All right, well, I gave I gave Boots a treat outside because I got her out of here pretty quick because she gets into stuff. I don't like people getting, cats getting into the merchandise. But then I thought, I better give her a treat, so I did. We'll see if the dogs will come down later. They're upstairs because my wife made a little bit of steak, so they're just begging. At any rate, thank you, Julie, very much. Sold a Nike tee. I don't know. I felt like we were out of these. Maybe we were just out of the mediums. Y'all, we had hundreds of these, y'all, if you know. And the small ones are the ones that... Is this it? Is this the end of the road? Can't be. No, there's one more down there. That said quantity 0. So we have one Nike tee left. Even though I think I've messed up the quantity on them. So sometimes I do that on purpose, just in case. Small Nike dry fit tee, 1046 plus shipping, paid $1 a piece. And these are the ones that are going for the least amount. We sold some for over 20 a piece plus shipping. And we sold this one's a Firebird. We haven't sold a Firebird in a while. And I think those are the only 2 types we have left. Pretty sure. We go right there, a little Firebird keychain. See if I can let you look at that one. That's different. We don't pull that one out too often. 40 what am I got? $14.95. Free shipping, I think, on these. So that's cool. Have 31 of these left, and we're down to the single digits in the Camaro ones. And we had 2 other types as well, and they sold super quick. We had hundreds and hundreds of these, and they're getting low, which makes me sad happy. All right, I was headed out for a minute, and I ran into a couple of pooches. Sit. They said I had to give you treats and rubbed and all. There you go. You get it. You're seated. Good boys. All right, I think we failed to thank somebody last week, but in case we did it twice, let me. What are you sneezing up there? You got mud all over you. Mom's gonna be mad. What do you got?
2 different Beths got Engelman and then Mike Metco.
2 different Beths. Beth J and I can't remember. 2 different Beths got the number 3 Enema Men, and Mike Metco got a Trash to Cash t-shirt, which, right here, Trash to Cash t-shirt. Mike Metco is our buddy. I don't think you've met him, but Mike Camporelli, he's awesome. He's got Mike Metco meetups over there on YouTube, talking about all the meetups across the country, which is really awesome. And he got 2 stickers as well, but they're not in here, they're inside, because we're out of them almost. So thank you, big thank you to Mike Metco. Can you say thank you? No? You want to say thank you?
Bye, and don't forget to get your stickers at CommonwealthBicker.com.
You know I'm a history geek. I love history. I taught it forever. And I love to look at charts and different things that really look at society and social practices, social trends. And the one that I have looked at for the last 10 to 15 years, quite a bit, and we talk about it with my kids, especially during COVID, because the COVID really changed things even further. It accelerated the change, is what do people spend their time doing? And, you know, you go back 100 years and, you know, church was way up here or whatever, you know, spending time with kids, working, doing whatever. All that stuff has changed. And the majority of our time, other than working, you know, whatever, is spent online in some facets. Social media, on watching stuff like this. And that's growing and growing and growing. And I realize that stuff's obvious, but I want to tie it to a couple other things here in just a second. And if you think about the way we live our lives today, it is increasingly, you know, my wife doesn't even want to go to the grocery store anymore, right? She's like, I can just order it from my phone. She still goes, but, you know, life is changing. My kids, holy moly, you know, I spend time as a kid watching video games and stuff, and they do too a little bit, but they're constantly on their phones as well. We have to limit it and do all that kind of stuff. In COVID, holy cow, man, there's a lot of kids who live virtual lives now. They don't go out like we used to do. You know, I used to jump up on Saturday morning. We'd watch cartoons, of course, first. My kids don't do that. And then we would roam around the neighborhood and play ball and do whatever for hours on end, and we'd come home when it got dark. Those days have changed. But as those kids age, they still have those same habits that they have built now. During COVID, you know, a lot of kids didn't even want to come back to school. They're like, I can just learn from home. I can do whatever. And so now what you're seeing is, well, I mean, this is obvious stuff, but I'm going to make a connection here. You're seeing whole age groups of kids grow up into adulthood now where they want, their relationships are online. And of course, we're going to talk about live selling in this and how it's changing things. This is not going to be a video that says, you know, stop selling on eBay. This is stupid. You know, there's always going to be an eBay. That's not what I'm going to say. There's always going to be a place for buy nows and static listings, and those will get top dollar for items. But there's other major factors involved here that I'm going to tie all into why I'm moving in the direction I'm moving. One of them, of course, is AI. That's the most recent thing it is really becoming, and this is kind of sad in some ways, because some of you old-time pickers out there are so good and you're so knowledgeable at what you do, but technology has allowed everybody to kind of catch up. Just a simple cell phone, right? Just a simple phone. And, you know, you can look at an item like this where somebody used to, well, that's a bad example, but, you know, antique items or different things, you know, glass and stuff. But the playing field has been somewhat leveled, where anybody with time and the ability to use a phone can find the value of things. And it really was a tough learning curve to learn so much, you know, 30, 40 years ago that learning curve just isn't there anymore. So the level playing field in sourcing, plus the people selling items, whether it's thrift stores or people at garage sales or estate sales, have that knowledge in their hand as well. You don't even have to hire the expert to help you price things for an estate sale anymore. You can do it yourself. And Goodwill's figured this out, of course, and we're going to tie into that. But AI on the listing side is leveling the playing field. I used to think that I had a big advantage over people because I really knew how to list stuff right. And I still think I do a good job with it. Titling and stuff like that, the ones that I list anyways. But that is even being leveled out. And there's days coming here, y'all, where a simple picture will create the perfect listing for you. And the speed of listing, hopefully, maybe hopefully, is going to increase rapidly and will level that playing field as well. So to me, the battle, the competition in reselling is being fought solely, almost solely, or will be solely, being fought on the sourcing side. Now, I think this is already being seen, and you guys, if you're a thrifter out there, you know this, being seen on the thrifting side more than anything. You know, Goodwill has changed so much. I literally used to go home, you know, I'd go on my lunch break. I wasn't allowed to, but I'd go on my lunch break to Goodwill, and I would come home with $100, $150 in profit back then, and I was only in there for 15 minutes. Those days at my local Goodwills are pretty much over. By the way, I'm making blanket statements here. Obviously, there are places around this country where you can still go, and Goodwill's not the only place. You still have great thrift stores. People are still finding great things. If I put all my time into that around here, I would still find stuff. But it is definitely not like the good old days. It isn't even close. And when you do find something, the pricing is much higher. That's what I think is generally happening. There are still people who are like, forget you, you have no idea what you're talking about. My Goodwill is amazing. I find $500 a day. That still exists too. But generally, this is changing. I want to tie this into a big macro picture as well with leases. And I think Goodwill is really, really changing. I've even heard folks, I'm not going to give the examples of the videos of the people who've said them because they've got different agendas, but Goodwill bin stores are actually changing right now for the worse for a lot of thrifters as well. And I thought that would be the last thing that would change, but it's starting to happen as well. Goodwill's changed. Look, leases, land, property, all that stuff costs a ton of money. Labor costs are up. So people are searching for ways to turn merchandise quicker and especially with a lower overhead. And I want to talk about estate sales as well, because this is happening now too. And this is going to lead into some of the things that I've started to do myself because I'm seeing this coming. That's why I started shopcommons.net, by the way, because there is a need for it now. It's growing quickly. There's plenty of sales on there every single day, and I started the daggone site. So it's not exactly like it's, you know, massive, but I could see the need for it, selling off wholesale merchandise. And that's what Shop Commons is, in large bulk. And I've had estate people come and talk to me. They want to change their model. I know an estate sale person who shut down their store. They want to absolutely systematically create a system for their business that is estate sale, everything else gone, no storage, no extra real estate where they're paying a lease and selling stuff off that should be higher dollar stuff that didn't sell or whatever. None of that anymore. So the lease prices are obviously going up, and businesses are trying to find other ways, even using different properties, for instance. I know of 2 different places that have moved out of a retail space to a backwoods warehouse to run their business. One of those places is selling high-end retail goods, single item goods, live selling. Another one is doing pure wholesale, and they were selling in bulk in a retail space, and they're like, this is getting out of control, expensive. And so now they've found literally backwoods warehouse, and they're selling in bulk using, obviously, internet and all these kind of things. They're not live selling yet, but I have had some of these folks come talk to me about how they could use what I've created on Commons to help them sell their stuff. And they're cutting out the local part of their business, which was a bunch of middlemen resellers who were working with them essentially. And they're bypassing that middleman and going to what possibly could be a middleman, especially the wholesale one, and doing it online. And you might think, well, that's worse for the buyer because you got to do shipping and stuff. And I would agree with you, but it's better for the seller, even if they're selling it at lower dollar prices, because they've gotten rid of their retail space. And so I really do hate to say it, but I think we all know that, well, maybe I shouldn't say all of us, because like I said, there's still these pockets all over the place that are really, really good. But retail thrifting is a very difficult way to make a lot of money. You got to be more particular. You got to really pay attention to cost. We've already talked about the labor costs and the cost of the properties. And, you know, that's the main driver of why, say, Goodwill is raising their prices, right? Even for the stuff that's in the store that doesn't find its way to some system. I even talked about Goodwill selling on Whatnot now. And I think you're going to see more and more of that. The cost involved is so much cheaper than hiring tons of employees and managing merchandise that might be around for months. And so different Goodwills in different places, not just Goodwills, other thrift stores. I've had contacts from mom and pop thrift stores about totally changing their business, shutting their doors, and doing what they do in a different way. And I'm like, whew, man, things are really, really quickly changing. And I hope for you thrifters out there, they don't change too quick. And there'll always be thrift stores, and especially some of these big ones that I don't mention all the time, their models aren't changing very quickly, and they may not. They may maintain that space, especially when the big dogs like Goodwill and stuff start moving away from it, and they might find a little niche. I'm not saying the world's going to change that quickly for us resellers, but there are some big changes. Estate sale companies, like I said, have already changed as well, and of course the online auction with the estate sales and all that stuff. So a bunch is changing. Fortunately for me, I think what's changing the least, at least at this point, is garage sales. I think there is a definite price increase for higher dollar stuff because of the availability for people who are selling their own stuff to figure out generally what it's worth. So in that sense, garage sales are a worse place to source than they were 10 years ago, but still really, really good. And you can make those other connections like I did with this one particular yard sale that leads to other stuff. The sourcing competition is pretty steep. There is a lot of folks out there, there are a lot of folks out there having a lot of success live selling and eBay selling who are very protective of their sources these days. I'm not protective of mine because it's a garage sale, for goodness sake. And I've had people, oh, you've ruined garage sales. And what? Maybe, I don't know. I guess we've ruined garage sales. But to me, I would say, you know, I go to tons of garage sales every year. I would say there's a slight decline in the goods that I find and the prices that I'm finding, but I don't see it going away. I think there's one little factor that is going to help resellers source traditional ways, especially the garage sale way, and that's the darn 1099. Because with the ease of information for people to find out what their own stuff is worth and just go on and sell it themselves, and that is definitely easier, there's also a bigger hurdle, and it seems bigger each year, with the 1099 number dropping from 20,000, 5,000, 2,500, 600 next year, whatever all this stuff is going to get to eventually. A lot of people don't want to deal with that part of it. And so there will still be opportunities to source, and maybe even increasing over the next couple of years if it truly does go to 600. Because I'm telling you, I know people who don't want to deal with that. They would rather sell it at 20 cents on the dollar to somebody like me than get 100 cents on the dollar, give 20% to eBay, and then have to deal with the 1099 and the taxes and whatever. There are people like that, thank goodness. So that is a good side. I don't think garage selling is going to decline as fast as thrifting is, or has been, I should say. My merchandise used to come, I would say over 50% of the merchandise I used to sell, going back a decade or so, came from thrift stores. And the rest came from garage sales. And, you know, occasional things here or there. But I would say maybe 60%, 55, 60% from thrift stores, 40%-ish from garage sales. That has slowly shifted to maybe 5% thrifting. And I would argue that by this year, I mean, I haven't gone to a thrift store. I went to one thrift store so far in 2025. So I don't live around good ones anyway, so it didn't really bother me. My sourcing has shifted to mainly three things. Garage sales are still probably 60% of what I sell. And then I've got two other methods now. Obviously, the growing methods that I think people really need to start mastering, if you will, is online selling. The places like what we have, Shop Commons, DivDid, all those things, I source over there. And the biggest increase for me has been private picks. I have always avoided private picks. They're not, to me, I don't know, they're just not as fun as going out there and finding a treasure hunt. But I have found that I have started to really enjoy them and to actively seek out those contacts in order to get those things. Now, I don't use social media for my private picks. I don't know. I feel like it's cheating a little bit, but I would if I needed to. I use the local method. I talk to people. I shake their hand. I give them my card. I give them my phone number. And so I have done 4 private sales this year. Only one of them was through social media, and that really, I did one with Mike Deathpile Picker, but he's a buddy of mine. And I think it's kind of sad in some ways that some people who just love thrifting find it more and more difficult. I think those folks are usually, I don't know if I want to call them hobbyists. It's just a pastime. It's what they love to do. And they like to make some extra money on it too. That's not going to disappear. But I truly think that there is this new audience of people who are loving sourcing and buying merchandise, stuff that they like, in smaller communities. And I've seen this coming. I was a teacher. I saw it coming with my kids. I see it with my kids, like my kids, not my kids that I taught. And so, yeah, a lot of people won't want to hear it, but live selling is a growing enterprise. And it is, if you do it right, or if not the selling part, but if you have the right mindset, you will certainly see that there's sourcing opportunities and an ever abundance of niche down sourcing opportunities. And that's why I went the way I did with these niche down marketplaces. I could go, maybe we'll pop them on the screen or something. I talk about them all the time. This is not meant to necessarily plug those things. It does in the same way. It's really meant to explain why I've gone down this road. Essentially what we're doing over here on DivDit and all its subsidiaries is we're creating niched marketplaces to draw in the right audiences. It's the reverse of what Whatnot does. Well, actually, it's the same as what they do in some cases, but you're really curating to your audience by who's selling as opposed to what the marketplace is. In other words, on DivDit, this is collectibles, this is pop culture stuff, and the people that love it all come there and they build their own community and buy and sell in that community. So it is very, very different than Whatnot, and it's certainly different than eBay. You're actually seeing a reaction to it right now, and I predicted that this would be a good thing for us, and I think it is. It gives us more options. It's even better for the eBay seller who will only be an eBay seller, and that's all they ever want to do. All these other options are actually creating more opportunity, not in all these spaces, but in eBay itself. And eBay, you've seen them change their marketing a little bit. We talk about things, people, and love for eBay and their marketing. They're trying to create community around whatever they want to create it around in different niches as well, but they're doing it as a giant marketplace. So that's why I'm so bullish on reselling, because I really do feel you can pick one of 7 different directions. As long as your sourcing is in place, and you will have success knowing your own strengths in each of those things. So it has to be 1.5 years ago at this point. I did a video kind of like this, but it didn't really give details. And I was saying, hey, this is what I'm going to do. People ask me like, why'd you buy that big old trailer? And I've got a small trailer now too. And there was many, many reasons for it. But one in particular, I could go in through all of it, but I bore you to tears. One in particular was I want to protect my ability to resell. And in order to do that, I needed to have opportunities to source in bulk, which is not my favorite thing to do, but it would still allow me to make enough money in those purchases and those kind of things to go out and still do the things that I love if I'm finding less at thrift stores, if I'm finding less or higher prices at garage sales. Making those connections is going to protect what I really love to do, because I can do this if I need to and still have the time, the space, the money to do the stuff that I love. And so I think it's more important than ever to get really hooked into a community and to learn new ideas and to make new connections and to make new friends and to not use those people. That's really not the best word, but to, I guess, use each other, to cooperate with each other, to create new connections, and to focus a little bit more on the things that you love, niching down, if you will, and be able to, how do I say it, create your own like ecosystem that fits your model and what you love to do. And it's different for everybody, but I can tell you what, I am so stoked about the opportunities that are out there. And, you know, economic times are strange, and you know, with all that's been going on in the world, with this tariff talk and with all this stuff that's going on, and I see nothing in all of this but opportunity. I may be crazy, but I see nothing but opportunity for those who want to work hard, who just want to sit down. Every once in a while I do this. I'm like, okay, I'm turning everything off. I'm sitting down for an hour and I'm just thinking and not even trying to think. And I'm coming up with different ways, different thoughts on how to source, how to make connections, and how to make this thing last for a long, long time. Because I don't want to be the person that falls by the wayside. And, well, I'm not going to be. But some people out there who are listening to this show, you're going to be the person who falls by the wayside, who doesn't want to deal with the hurdles that are put in front of you. Don't want to deal with the right way to do your taxes and how to get those deductions and put in that work. Because we all just want to go out and have fun and go to garage sales and go to thrift stores and go to estate sales and do all the stuff that we love to do. But if you just take a little bit of time and do that, I've talked about my reseller, Genie and whatever, you're going to survive. And the survivors in this business are going to flourish, because everything in the future, to me, points towards a growing, huge pie for resellers. Everything I see is pointing in the right direction for resellers. Now, well, I shouldn't say everything. There's still a lot of things that kind of worry me. We've talked about those in the past. And you want to have good partners, meaning eBay's got to be a good partner for us. And I certainly see the competition that eBay sees and maybe some movement in our direction. And if you think I'm crazy, which is fine, I get it, let me just tell you, the marketplaces that me and my buddies created over there, you know, I remember somebody asked Rally Roots one time, they're like, why don't you just create your own website and sell on there so you don't have to pay all those fees? They're talking about eBay. This is years ago. And Ryan gave an answer. He's like, it's a lot of money and you got to drive traffic and you don't have as big an audience. There's all these reasons. And he was, you know, a social media person, and I thought, that's very right. You know, of course, we need eBay as much as eBay needs us. But that's changing a little bit. I think eBay is starting to need us a little bit more than we need them, which is good for us, because I hopefully they can adapt a little bit and change and entice us a little bit more. You know, people might think I'm crazy for saying that, and I might be, but that's really how I feel. I mean, like I said, we created these, I guess there's 7 marketplaces now, and some of them are just fledgling, just a month or two old. But Dibdit is, and it's been around a little while. We're well over $500,000 in sales in 3 months over there. And it's growing very quickly because we're curating marketplaces for not a massive audience like eBay does. We're curating audiences for specific things. Cards, Dibdit threads. We've got Polish and Brush, which is beauty and makeup and health. We've got Shop Commons, which is nothing but wholesale stuff. You got to sell stuff in lots. Dibdit, which is a collector's paradise, or whatever we call it, right? 80s toys, 90s toys, you know, stamps, coins, whatever, the collectible stuff. So we're creating little niches, Dibdit Sports, for sports equipment. I'm just plugging stuff now, and we've got a new one, y'all, too. I don't know if I'm allowed to say it yet, but I think I did it earlier in this video. And it's really, really been fun. And they're small communities having a way bigger amount of success for the number that you see than anybody might think. And so that creates opportunity out there for folks too. It's just a changing world. I really think that all those things put into play, the simple thing like the cell phone that's been around for quite a while, as well as now the AI difference that's really, really making a difference. The strange economic macro world that we live in is just creating one opportunity after another after another. A lot of people are down on reselling right now because of certain circumstances. I just would say take a break for a minute. Just think. Stop. Try new things. Try new avenues. It doesn't have to be as a seller, like I'm not promoting my site for everybody to come over and sell or even buy. But let me tell you, I have created friends over there, created contacts, got information from people, just like our Facebook group, and you got to connect yourself with communities that enjoy the things that you do, and use those folks to get sharper yourself and then help them get sharper too. So I really do think that the new frontier in reselling is the sourcing side. There's no doubt about it in my mind. And if you're not that person, try to be, not the person that's going to go out and make those contacts, and you're not comfortable in bigger situations. You just want to thrift and you just want to do whatever, do it. Fine. But if it's something you want to preserve, if it's something you want to increase and find a community to enjoy that enjoys the things that you do, start reaching out a little bit, whether that's online or whether that's simply at a garage sale. Look for opportunities that you may not have seen before. I was a teacher, and I would talk to, people knew I resold, but I never really went out until my last year of teaching when I knew I was quitting. And I wanted to have merchandise and survive and feed my family. I started to reach out and talk to people. I'm like, hey, I would send an email out to like the whole department, or sometimes I'd talk to, people out of my department, whatever, and be like, hey, if you know anybody that's, downsizing, moving, if a teacher moved or something, I'll be like, hey, if you have something you want to sell beforehand, let me know. And I started to reach out that last year, and I was overwhelmed with how much stuff. I actually left that school building the very last day I was teaching. I have my little marker up there of when I decided to quit. And I walked out of that building that day with tons of merchandise to sell. Because the last few days I was there, I started to ask and put feelers out for people. And I'm like, hey, bring it in. I'll pay you, before I leave and whatever, because I wasn't coming back. And it worked. And I've started to do more and more of that. I've always done it a little bit, yard selling. But I did it at this sale the other day when I was there, and I bought a bunch of stuff, and some lady started talking to me, and then we made connections. I got into it sounds bad, got into 3 people's houses. But I went to somebody's house today that I made a connection with at a yard sale. I gave them a card, and I bought stuff from them. And then I went one house down, and I bought, $600-800 worth of video games from her son. And then I went 6 miles down the road. I didn't know this was going to happen. And it's just because I said, hey, you got anybody else that wants to sell something? And I went 6 miles down the road, and I bought $300 more worth of stuff from her brother. And it was crazy. I have people calling me now when they find stuff that I like, that they know I sell, that they don't sell, and they'll buy it. And they'll sell it directly to me at, they're making a little bit of money, but they're not making a ton on that stuff. And I'll contact them. It's just, I can't believe, I guess, necessity is the mother of invention. I didn't need to do all that stuff back then, because I used to go out. When I started 25 years ago going to garage sales around here, I would come back every day with 4 NES systems, a Sega, an old Atari, and whatever. And I didn't even know how to pick back then. I didn't know hardly anything that I know now. Lord knows how much I passed up over the years. But I didn't have to do it. Now it's like, okay, if I want to ramp my numbers up, if I want to sell $250,000 worth of merchandise statically on eBay and then live on our Dibdit marketplaces, I'm going to have to do a little bit more than just head out to garage sales 30 Saturdays a year. And I have really found that I have enjoyed the heck out of it. And I'm telling you right now, y'all, these estate sale companies, these thrift stores, they're rethinking their models, and some of them are slowly changing their models. And it is going to affect you if that's your main place to source. I also see it as the reason why I think storage units have kind of come back lately. And it totally depends on where you are too, because some of those are ridiculously overpriced. But the new methods in selling, the onset of live selling, has made it very, very possible now to extract a lot more money out of a storage unit than you used to be able to without harder labor or storage, because you're storing furniture and stuff, trying to go washing machines, trying to get top dollar on Facebook Marketplace and whatever. And that stuff still exists. But there's more money in that ancillary stuff that you can move quickly, and then maybe you're niched down and maybe you're just looking for guns and gold or something in the storage units and then selling those things off, or looking for toys or comic books, selling your niche, and have to find a way to get rid of the other stuff quickly. So I don't think storage units are going away anytime soon. Plus the fact that storage unit costs are going up and up and up, and cost of living has been going up for years as well. And so people are like, they're abandoning their storage units. And so there's another sourcing opportunity too. So I guess what I'd say is, I'm not telling you go out and buy 2 trailers and you know, have these plans for the future and travel and making connections on. I'm just saying, hey, just step back from reselling for just a second, for just a few hours, and just think through where you want to go, what your processes are, and what your sourcing is now and the way you would like it to be. And you might come up with some interesting ideas that would really help you moving forward. I really believe, I'm a believer in just taking a little time and thinking through things before you just totally continue to do what you do and get frustrated, because there are so many opportunities. Figure out where you want to go and figure out a plan for how you're going to get there. Maybe it is something as simple as just experimenting, not experimenting necessarily with live selling, but just watching it, trying to figure out, hey, how do I fit into this system? Maybe I'm the person who goes to the storage unit, who buys the storage unit, and then has the other person who's doing nothing but selling. Flip the World Texas actually just mentioned this on one of his videos, because he's made a connection. You know, you just find where you fit into it. And he's built an online live selling site, well, not his site, his own whatnot, that he is the guy that people want to come to because he's built that audience, and he doesn't want to source it. So he just connects with the sourcer, and there's smaller margins, but much more volume, and so he's making more money. That's not what I want to do. I'm not a live seller at heart. I like it, especially in my Dibdit communities, because the people over there are very kind and amazing, but it's not what I want to do. I like to get out. I like to go to sales. I like to meet people where they live, in their backyards, in their garages, wherever it is they're having a sale. That's what I love, so I want to focus on that. But figure out where you want to go. And I'm telling you right now, sourcing is the Mount Everest for where we're at. Even more than doing, you know, learning how to do your listings exactly right, or how should I do my description, or should I be cross-listing or whatever. I think the time spent on figuring out sourcing is the most important thing right now. All right, I've yapped and yapped and yapped and given so much information out there that people will criticize me in the comments for, which is okay. So anyway, I just felt like I needed to say it and explain some of the things. It even explains these sheds that I'm in right now. You know, people ask me like, why do you need the second shed? I want to separate the businesses. Now, that allows me to process much more inventory quickly if this is where the static stuff goes. This is where the eBay listings go, and more static listings over there on my Dibdit sites as well, which you should check out, because I'm now selling Inaman over there on Dibdit.com on auction. Probably go a little cheaper than eBay right now if you want one. But that shed has allowed me to buy so much more than I've ever bought before, and differentiate where things are going and get them out the door quickly, and let me focus on this, which is like my reseller Disneyland. Thank y'all for joining us, and I can't wait to see you next time.